Hi, I'm Tommy Moore from the Bartitsu Lab, and in this video I just wanted to discuss some thoughts, some ideas around preemptive striking when there are multiple opponents and some of the different factors that brings to the fore. Now obviously it's really hard to show some of these things in lockdown where you can't really train with people, so I will do this again with more people, with more stuff once the world reopens. But do bear with me, hopefully it's a useful thought exercise for you. So, got to understand, when there is a multiple opponent situation, one, it really compounds the risks to you as a human. Now, one human decks another human, that human falls down and ostensibly gives up, curls up, is fetal. Many people that aren't utter sociopaths, utter psychopaths, may end it there. When there's more than one person, there is a pack mentality, there's a pack impetus, it's just innate, it's instinctive. You want to jockey for position, so a lot of people will want to feel like they've played their part in the hunt. So even if protagonist A and protagonist B, protagonist A has the group, one of them knocks you down, the others feel like if they want to be part of that shared story, that shared narrative, that shared experience, they're all going to give you a couple of digs when you're down, and that's where it can get very dangerous, because it can escalate, it can become competitive, it can become out of control. And whilst you're down, it's going to be very hard for you to get back up, and it's going to be very easy for very untrained people, even much smaller, much younger people, to kick your head in and cause you some serious drama. So, it's what Rory Miller calls the group monkey dance. The normal monkey dance, human versus human, knockdown fight, wrestle about, can typically, but not always, end okay for both parties. No one goes home dead. Group monkey dance, whole different story, very dangerous to you. Okay. Another important thing is, once that happens, once that group situation happens, it can actually be quite hard to escape. It's hard enough to run away from one person. To run away from multiple people who've got different speeds, different agility, it's going to be very hard to outrun a mob of people. That is quite tricky to do. It's not impossible, but it's much harder than outrunning a single person. You can get around obstacles. You can move around cars. You can do stuff. You can enter shops easily as one person being chased by one person. But one person being chased by 5 people, that's very hard to escape from. Okay. If you look at a lot of historical sources, so people that had to fight more than one person, if you look at people, even go far back as Miyamoto Musashi, all of the guidance seems to be either don't be attacked by multiple people, or if you are attacked by multiple people, attack first, keep on attacking, keep on moving until you can exit or until they all stop moving. This is an important thing. A lot of the historical sources, the people that are doing violence for a job, are advising to strike early, to keep striking, keep moving. This is kind of sage advice from their part. Soon as you've got more than one opponent, even if you could have handled a striking exchange with one human and you could potentially have deferred or stopped any attempts at grappling, when you're fighting 2 humans, you will get grabbed by one of those humans. It's instinctive. One of those 3 people will grab, will hold, will drag onto your clothing, your hair, your beard, your face, your leg. You will be grappled. And getting rid of that grapple is much more difficult while the others are striking you. Essentially, you're being struck and grappled at the same time by multiple people. It's horrible. It's like being in a tumble dryer with a brick. You don't want it. You don't want it. So, whilst there's lots of great sage advice out there, it's always low percentage. Fighting more than one person is always low percentage for you. But there's some great guides out there. But my advice for this particular video is understand your need to preempt and strike first before they are arrayed. In their psychology, they're already feeling at advantage because there are more of them than there is of you. So their ability to be canny to what you do could be overshadowed by their arrogance and their shared belief that there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about it. You are a prey item right now. You're a prey item. So understand their psychology. They will be on a high, they'll be feeling elated, and they might not be as aware as to things that you might do. So as far as they're concerned, you're going to do fuck all because there's more of them. So understand their psychology, their hubris. And you've got a very small opportunity, a very small window of time where acting puts things somewhat a little bit more in your favour. It'll never be fully in your favour, but somewhat more in your favour. And that is attacking them before they achieve positional authority. So if I'm here and there is an opponent at 10 o'clock and there's an opponent at 1 o'clock, it's going to be very, very difficult for me to fight one without being chinned or grabbed or glassed by the other. So if I fight Mr. 11 o'clock, Mr. 1 o'clock is going to hit me. If I fight Mr. 1 o'clock, Mr. 11 o'clock is going to hit me or grab me or do something, which means it's going to be very hard for me to fight. The one small opportunity I might have is before they array, before they find themselves in that natural pincer or flanking movement. So let's say I'm walking down the road and they're coming out of a side alley. When they do that, that is the time before they have split, before they have pincered. And that is your golden opportunity to strike. So it's very important to get good at drilling. How do you bang out 2 to 3 people before they can get positional authority, before they get set for the match? Because it's also, in the group monkey dance, it's a piece of orchestrated theatre. Yep. Enemy 1, enemy 2, enemy 3, or enemy 4. Yep. There's an arrayment here. Yep. If they were going to jump you and all pile in and batter you, that would have happened by now. There is going to be some degree of theatre, some bravado, some talking, some intimidation. There's going to be something. This happens quite a lot. So your opportunity is before they array, before they split, whilst they're marching in column, so to speak, you need to be able to strike and strike with authority. So you need to hit them before they get set, hit them before they find their mark, before they find their way to flank and pincer you. So that means you need to be proactive. You need to take distance. You need to provide force, speed, violence of action. These are all things that you need to deploy. So some drills that I like to work with this will be walking drills. So for example, I'll use the focus mitt for now. So if I'm walking up here, and 2 dickheads walk through here, I need to get used to going from a natural walk to immediately hit. You notice head 1, head 2, boom. Doesn't matter what you throw for next, just the exercise. So you get used to walking, you've spotted the threat. If I turn to engage them in dialogue, I've allowed them to set positional authority. So even if I could deceive with dialogue and hit 1 and hit 2, if you've got that gut feeling, if you know in your soul that it's going to be a bad time for you, before they can come out and split off, you need to go at it. So you've clocked it, you know it's going to happen, you need to get in, 1, 2, then you've got the option as to whether you finish that situation or whether the strikes you've done are sufficient for you to escape. Now that's a judgment call that you're going to have to make. If you go chin chin and they both go down to the deck and you feel reasonably confident that nothing more is going to occur from those guys for at least 20 seconds, off you fuck, fine. If you've chin chin, one of them's taken a knee and one's started to wobble a little bit, you might decide that you need to go back and finish that a little bit more, depending on the proximity of escape routes for you. But the important thing is get used to being able to walk, move, chin chin, then assess and then decide. So observe, act, bang bang, assess that group situation and then do what you want to do. I quite like double tapping off this, so I'm going to decide to do a technique. Let's say I'm going to do a palm strike, walking along. I find it more natural to use the same tool. You may decide to vary the tools, so you might walk up, palm heel, forearm, whatever. You're walking along, you've clocked it, bang bang, yep, boom boom, whatever you want to do. Get used to varying the tools, but the important thing is get used to clocking threats from different directions. So if you imagine, if I'm walking here and I've clocked 2 threats behind me, while they're still in relatively single or double file, being able to turn chin chin. So you walk in, 2 behind me, get used to that before, if I turn and engage with dialogue, they will fan out, and therefore I'm going to eat something dealing with one. If I deal with one, I'm going to eat something from the other bloke. So I need to get used to being relatively natural, walk, as soon as I clock the threat, then assess your options. So attack them before they can achieve positional authority, positional dominance. Flanking, flaring, funneling, pincering, all of these things happen, but they typically happen once we stop for the dialogue. So the important thing is, if you're pretty certain it's going to kick off, skip that dialogue phase, bang, bang, and then move, get gone, get absolutely gone. So, when you're looking at preemptive multiples, let's just talk 2s and 3s for now. 2s is a good feasible number. You need to understand that from their position, you're praying there's not a lot you can do about it because there's more than one. 2, understand that you need to attack them vigorously with speed, force and surprise before they can achieve any one of several positions which makes it very hard for you to fight. Whether they're at 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock, whether they're at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, whatever, you don't want them to end up in a position where they've ensnared you in any way. So therefore, you need to attack them before that position happens, and that means often bypassing the dialogue stage. As soon as I engage with dialogue, they can really set the position of their attack and their assault. So it's a judgment call, to understand whether the preemptive strikes were warranted. But at the end of the day, if your gut's telling you this is going to go, attack them whilst they're still in some degree of grouping, in front of you or behind you if they're just coming out from your left or for your right. I always find being able to double tap, to use the same technique twice. Get used to being able to do it from a walk. Often in combatives we stop, we set, we might have a more dynamic fence, but the problem is even if I'm doing the dynamic fence, that dialogue phase has allowed them to fan. So I might go from perceived unawareness and fire those shots straight in. It might be more conducive for me to miss out the otherwise useful fence phase to get in that surprise assault. So useful things. Now, once you've done that, bang, bang, or hit with something else, whatever the fuck, you need to get good at assessing whether this situation requires more or this situation allows me to escape safely. These are important drills to have, and once we go back to the normal world, get used to drilling them with partners. Get used to how shit it is for you if you allow them to achieve positional dominance, and understand how reasonably okay it can be for you if you hit them before they do it. One of the most useful things about understanding human psychology is that positioning, that ambush positioning, often comes after a small degree of dialogue. It could be 3 seconds of dialogue or 30 seconds of dialogue, it doesn't matter, but people tend to speak and mask their arraignment. If they've already been coordinated enough to split themselves out and then ambush you, then good luck, because you're probably fucked. But if a group of pissed up lads decide they're going to have a pop at you and they're all in one place to begin with, don't allow them to achieve that positional dominance on you. Get in there, strike hard, strike fast, and if anything, just get used to the notion of being able to fire preemptive shots from a walk and from a run. Can you run? Bam, bam. Can you run and do it? Can you walk and do it? Bam, bam. Being able to fire these shots whilst you're moving is an underappreciated and underused skill. So yes, absolutely get used to de-escalating or escalating or deterring using the fence. Get used to awareness and avoidance and all those lovely things, but also get good at running and smashing a cunt, or walking and firing off before they realise you've clocked the threat. These are important drills to burn into your mind. Attack the group before they can get positional dominance.